Good morning, Bear Nation. I'm Bear with Preparedness.com. We're doing the brief today, 7 April 23. If you're not new here, you know what to do. Thumbs up. Share the show with somebody that you love. That helps us circumvent the YouTube algorithmic bullshit. If you are new here, maybe you'll find some value in what we do here today. If so, you can hit the subscribe button, ring the little bell icon. That way YouTube will pretend to notify you when we go live. Now, we have a lot of new people here, and so I'm going to briefly explain before we get started on the intel who I am and what we do. I have 5 businesses and 2 ministries. I've been entrepreneurial since I was 17 years old. Started my first business when I was 17 with $700 worth of assets, sold it when I was 22 for $1.4 million. I'm not independently wealthy, but I'm also not worried about how I'm going to pay my bills next week. Praise the Most High. Our ministries are grindstoneministries.com, where we do disaster relief and construction efforts, 100% not-for-profit. We don't bill the homeowners. We don't bill FEMA. We are 100% supported by the Bear Nation, y'all. And we have Caleb House, where we rescue and restore juvenile human trafficking survivors. Yeah. I also own Refuge Medical, the 3rd largest retailer of North American rescue in North America, including law enforcement and the federal government. And started that company 4 years ago in my barn. Own Refuge Training, own Bear Independent, obviously, and a couple of other businesses. So I've been into preparedness since Hurricane Katrina. I've got a family. We live on a homestead, and we prepare for what is coming. And so this morning, we're going to talk about what is coming. And I'm happy to be back. We've been observing the high holy days, the appointed times, the Moedim, the last few days, and it's been an absolute blast. But I've been wanting to get back and have these conversations with y'all. So, Bear Independent Brief, 7 April 23. For the first time in almost 2 years, job openings have fallen to under 10 million in the United States. Mileage varies across different industries, of course, but the industry shrinking the fastest is professional and business services. Part of the shrinkage of the job market is a cooling after that hot period of post-pandemic hiring. Another part stems from future growth-dependent industries that are currently reining back because of the economic crises on the horizon. At the end of the day, this changes the ratio from 2 job openings for every 1 worker to 1.7 jobs available for every 1 worker. So there's still way more available openings than there are people to do the work. For now, workers still tend to hold more power overall, but the trend is an economic indicator that should be taken seriously. One exception to this trend can be found in the state of Texas, which has continued to grow unhindered. It's currently leading the nation, having added 14 million non-agricultural jobs. Now, in that little paragraph, there's a whole lot of pieces to pick apart, and so we'll do that. 1.7 jobs available for every 1 worker. Where did everybody go? Well, a lot of people just opted out of the system, rightly or wrongly, due to COVID. A lot of people realized, you know what, this system is bullshit. I don't want to play this game anymore, and they're not. I don't think that a lot of these job openings are because of people who died from COVID, because I believe those numbers are greatly exaggerated. And there's been myriad reporting on that from us and many other sources over the last 3 years, however long it's been since COVID hit. We'll call it a couple of years. That, if you stubbed your toe and tripped and fell and bashed your head on a rock, you died of COVID. Yeah, garbage. I heard a phenomenally interesting supposition on why COVID exists and how it got out, the whole lab leak thing, all that. By the way, 100% chance that this is one of those videos that gets pulled from the internet today. So if you're not on Patreon, there's a link in the description. Patreon is one of our alternate platforms that we use. It's $5 per month. It's the best $5 you can spend on the internet. Not only are there 20 plus exclusive pieces of content per month there, it also is an alternate platform that is outside the whims of YouTube. I got a community guideline strike while I was gone for a copyright claim, which is bullshit here. So I'm literally one strike away from having the channel here pulled. Am I gonna lose sleep over it? Nah. BI, why do you give false information about FEMA? Like what? Like the fact that I worked for them? Like the fact that they're not doing anything in Rolling Fork, Mississippi? Define false information, monkey nuts. You're welcome to join us boots on the ground in Rolling Fork, Mississippi. And get out there and get mud on your boots and get blood on your jeans and spend your money to operate heavy equipment to put people's lives back together. You can go watch those videos where I show you what the FEMA base camp looks like. The fact that they're not doing anything, the fact that they doubled their strength, 100% increase from 2 individuals to 4 individuals on site. Come see me, bro. And be careful talking shit on the internet, because the internet is more or less make-believe. You are lying, bro. You can kiss my ass and go watch the 10 videos that I just posted from Rolling Fork, Mississippi. But I digress. Back to COVID, the lab leak. The supposition goes that because of the uprising that was taking place in Hong Kong, that Xi Jinping and the Chinese leadership needed a way to put down the uprising that was coming there. And so they went with the nuclear option of knowingly releasing this viral, COVID-19 to get everybody sick, to put down the insurrection that was taking place in China. And that everything that has come since then has been, follow-on effects. Thank you, Jonka Prepper. Thank you, Storms. Oops, he gone. That's exactly right. So, by the way, you call me a lot of things. You call me a liar, I'll beat your ass in person. I don't say things I don't know, and I don't say things that I know to be untrue. What I do say, I've seen with my own eyes, done with my own hands. So whoever that was calling me a liar, you can kiss my ass. You can also take your ass to Rolling Fork, Mississippi, and go do it yourself. Go see it with your own eyes. Okay? So Xi Jinping knowingly released COVID-19 to put down an insurrection in China. What happened after that, and it was the gentleman who was providing this information to me had reason to know, we'll put it that way. Everything that happened after that was secondary follow-on effects, including the whole world being shut down for a year or two. So, and then Fauci, of course, becomes the wonderful fall guy, just another, government idiot for everybody to shine the spotlight on, who was 100% involved. But he creates the plausible deniability for the Chinese regime who released the thing in the first place. So all that to say, I don't think that the reason that jobs are wildly available in the United States of America is because a whole bunch of people died of COVID. Yet and still, these jobs are still available. I think the job market will probably shrink up due to the economic situation we find ourselves in. The velocity of capital and the availability of capital is shrinking greatly. While Trump was being indicted over the last couple of days, some very interesting things happened with the central bank and the central bank digital currency. There's the strong likelihood that we are going into another turning point when it comes to currency here in the United States of America. There's varying opinions on what this looks like. One of the prevailing opinions, Dave Ramsey, of all people, there's a clip of him going around on the internet saying that the central banks will never fail. The dollar will never fail. And if they do, you don't need gold, you need bullets. Precious metals. Precious metals. Good morning, awesome one. Thank you. So Dave Ramsey is of the opinion that central banks won't fail, currency won't fail. But if they do, you need bullets, not gold. Now, gold has hit an all-time high of over $2,000 an ounce. We'll talk about that again in a moment. Who said that? Don Oliver, I stay away from anything digital. I agree. As far as investment strategies, I like things that I can lay my hands on. Now, whether or not the dollar collapses, whether or not central banks collapse, whether or not we move to a digital currency, we can all see the writing on the wall as far as the value of the US dollar is concerned. It is hot garbage and has been hot garbage for the last couple of years, and it's getting worse due to inflation. So while I'm not an economic or financial professional, if my options are let my money sit in the bank and be devalued due to inflation and possibly taken by the feds, or investing that into tangible assets like land, food, water, shelter, agriculture, hardware, tools, training, equipment, etc., I'm going to go with tangible assets. And it doesn't mean that I don't have silver. I have a little bit of gold, being perfectly honest, because gold is a wealth preservation device. That's what gold is. It's not really for transactional spending. It's wealth preservation because it doesn't go to zero. Doesn't mean it will continue to grow as an investment, but it's a wealth preservation tool. But I have a significant amount of silver because silver and small denomination silver, because silver can be used transactionally if needed. So that's something that you might think about. But I also have 20 shovels and a couple dozen sheep and cows and more chickens than I can count, and land and wells and creeks and streams and water purification and water catchment and solar generation and fossil fuel backup and more freaking long-term food than you can shake a stick at, and a team of people whom I love who are highly capable that I do life with, that if/when this train derails, this being the United States of America, train derails and comes off the tracks, that I'm not on the train or standing on the tracks when it doesn't. Only thing that doesn't fail is Yahweh. Yep, I agree with that. Well, the Hebrews were an agricultural people. There's probably a lesson in there for that, for us. Quillen Teleshevik, I shot a video for you for Patreon. Keep your eyes peeled. It's coming. No, Bear's not Jewish. Bear's so Christian the Christians don't like me. But we digress. So back to job numbers. Why is Texas seeing exponential growth as compared to everybody else? A lack of regulation and a lot of capital is still being invested there in Texas. There's probably indicators there for us. The recent wave of economic data has caused recession worries to resurface and once again roil the markets. Dude, the markets are not something I would be invested in at all. To be completely frank, I'm not invested in the markets because the volatility is so high. It's not worth it. When it comes to investment, I guess technically the phrase is risk averse. Risk averse. I'm not interested in growing my pretend fiat currency dead president dollars. I'm interested in earning them, and I do earn them through all the various means already discussed at the opening of the brief. But when I invest them, again, I invest in tangible assets. I don't invest in the markets. Other than the aforementioned job market data, there was also data released that revealed factory orders and manufacturing activity were lessening. Now, do you know that 95% of all the garments in the world, 95% of them traverse the South China Sea? 95%. American manufacturing, if the United States of America is going to weather the coming storm, American manufacturing is going to be a vital part of that. It's something that at Refuge Medical, we've not doubled or tripled down, but quadrupled down on. I have, over the last couple of years, invested a significant amount of money that equates to approximately 20% of our gross revenue, not net revenue. 20% of our gross revenue over the last 2 years has been invested into American manufacturing. So shops, blow molded cases, machine shops, new products, growing businesses, employing Americans with not just a living wage, but a good wage. And I think more and more people need to be doing that and leaning in that direction. American made is going to very quickly become not just the new fad or the new hot thing, but a necessity for the continuation of the country as we understand it. So depending on how big your purview is, whether your purview is your living room full of people that you love or it's the entire country, American manufacturing is going to be a large part of what is needed to weather the coming storm. You all know, or at least you should at this point know, that I'm a big fan of companies like Origin. I'm not an influencer for them. I'm not an affiliate. They don't pay me any money. I don't pay them any money. This is an Origin hoodie. I bought this with my own money. I'm wearing a pair of Origin jeans right now, and I've got covert thread socks on my feet. The Wool Beast covert thread socks on my feet. And underneath that, I've got a Sanctified Supply Co. t-shirt on. Plugging into American manufacturers and American companies, keeping your dollars as local as possible is highly recommended. 95% of the garments that are sold in the world come through the South China Sea, whether it's China or Vietnam or South Korea or Malaysia or the Philippines or wherever. 95%. Another interesting data point, 80% of all the cranes, the large cranes that are used at American shipping ports, 80% of them are manufactured by China. So we saw what a biological virus, Chinese biological virus, can do to the world. Think about what a digital virus could do to the cranes at these ports. 80% of the cranes are Chinese. Cyber attack, firmware update, anybody? You want to shut industry down in the United States of America? And not just 80% of the cranes at American ports, but 70% of the cranes in the world at these ports are Chinese. Talk about asymmetric warfare. And one of the things I wanted to talk about this morning is I've been saying that the hot war with China is coming. We're headed that direction. And we can see that with the United States strengthening ties in Philippines and Malaysia and Taiwan and South Korea and Japan, right? This whole ring of fire nations, with access to the South China Sea, that the hot war with China is coming. You look at the United States Marine Corps and its focus on littoral combat. The fact that recently the United States of America put 3 carrier strike groups in the South China Sea as a show of force, right? All these things are indicators of a hot war with China. And we're concerned, as we should be, about a hot war with China. But what about the asymmetric warfare that's going on with China right now, where nobody's really paying attention to that? You could start with a global virus, and then you could look at, totally not a spy balloon, right? Which, by the way, what was the spy balloon doing? Lots of people were saying when it first happened, well, it's flying over our most sensitive military sites. It's trying to get information on our nuclear arsenal. Well, they can't get information, that there's no emanations there. No, you know what it was doing? It's the Department of Defense recently released a report on this. It was flying in figure 8 circles over these sensitive military sites, which means it was obviously it had some type of self-power. It could maneuver. It wasn't just dependent upon the prevailing winds. And it was doing figure 8 patterns. And it was war driving. It was scraping the data from all of your 7th generation collection devices. Why? Because let's put my China hat on. If I can't get access to the hardware, I can get access to the software, to you. War driving, look it up. It's now got the SSIDs of every single device that's associated with any of those military installations. An SSID is a unique number, like your social security number, for each device. The location of that SSID can be tracked in real time. Anytime it touches a a Wi-Fi network, or a cell tower. But how do you... We were doing this, and with great success during the GWAT. Well, China scraped all that data, all those emanations, which technically isn't illegal because you were emanating. It just pulled those signals out of the air for every single person associated with those sites. Yep. Yep. And once you have that SSID, now what can I do? I can track your phone. And we all know that your phone lives in your pocket, right? It goes with you everywhere. So now I've got pattern of life on you. So, was it a spy balloon? Absolutely. That's a Mac ID bear. Depends on the device, Soul Studios. But you're in the weeds. It doesn't matter. The point is that they got the data. The point is that they got the data. And that was not the first balloon or the 10th balloon. There were dozens of them. Why the balloon, though? That could be done from the ground, maybe just more efficient from the sky. Yeah, it can be done from the ground, but the equipment needed to do it from the ground. I mean, look at the array was on that balloon. You're going to drive that around in a semi. That's going to attract a bunch of attention. But if you fly overhead above the legal airspace, I'm not technically breaking any laws, am I? Right? So the asymmetric warfare that's happening with China is deep and it's broad. And it's been happening, and it's going to continue to happen. That's something I think we need to be paying more attention to, because the hot war is coming, says me. The hot war is coming. I think that the United States Department of Defense, it's just a matter of time before they commit troops to Ukraine. There's a lot of buildup in Poland, and the interesting things are happening in Poland right now as far as American forces are concerned and American hardware. And so there's a likelihood that whether they be defense contractors, so that we can maintain some plausibility or plausible deniability and say, nope, there's no troops in Ukraine. Yeah, there's no troops. They're just all contractors, right? And there have been American troops in Ukraine for a decade. TAA, Train, Advise, Assist. How do I know? Because I've talked to the people who have been there and done that. Ooh, yeah. So the DOD is going to commit troops, or has a high likelihood to commit troops, American troops, to the war in Ukraine. Also, to commit troops to the South China Sea. Hot war. But while we're all screaming, bitching, and moaning about the hot war that's coming, pay attention to the asymmetric warfare that's happening. Total war doctrine has been China's thing forever. Absolutely. Read it. I have. Back to the brief. Let's see. Other than the aforementioned job market data, there was also data released that revealed that factory orders and manufacturing activity were lessening. Another economic indicator is that gold has reached a record high of over $2,000 per ounce. That's always an indicator of the strength of the dollar. The higher gold is valued, the lower the strength of the dollar. And gold is at an all-time high. Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester said this week that she expects interest rates to go over 5% to beat down inflation that's, quote, too high and too stubborn, end quote. Now, a lot of this talk about inflation, and we're going to talk about gasoline in a moment. The talking points from they are couched in such terms that are almost apologetic. Like, man, it's just so terrible, but we're just going to have to do these things, right? As if they don't have control of the system in the first place. As if they don't get to decide what inflation rates are going to be. As if it's not premeditated. We're just so sorry, Joe Blow, that gasoline is going to cost more and that your dollar has less value. As if they don't have any say in what it is. It's bullshit. It's demoralization. It's a mobility kill for the American populace. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about this morning, I shot a video titled "The Militia versus the Government," and it pissed a lot of people off. But it was true, and it is true. You should go watch that video if you haven't. Good morning, Iridium Group. One of the things that has to change in order for the American people to have any hope of dealing with what may come because of this global cabal. Because of this global cabal, is that the American people must be organized if they're going to have any hope of resisting what comes next. The disorganization of the American people, you can see this everywhere in all of their efforts and all of their demoralization campaigns to separate people out. Gay versus straight, black versus white, trans bullshit, 54,000 different denominations of Christendom, conservative versus liberal, blah, 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 right? And there are things that are abominations, and there are things that should not be tolerated. Don't get me wrong on that. But the big deal here is that if we're all so busy fighting with each other, it creates room for them to maneuver. It's cover for their action because you're paying attention to some bullshit news feed on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, and not paying attention to what they're doing, not organizing. And if you're not organized, right, speed, surprise, violence of action. If you watched that militia versus the government video, the people don't have speed, they don't have surprise, and they don't have violence of action. We don't. Might be something to start working on. And I'll tell you this, if you are a good human being that have any political or leadership aspirations, now's probably the time to get involved. Run for county commissioner, run for sheriff. At the local level, get plugged in to your network, to your people. And if you're one of those lone wolf prepper people, I've got a dozen videos on that. Not only do I feel sorry for you, but you're dead wrong. You're going to die. Network and the network effect is one of the most important things that we could possibly have as a tool for sustainment for ourselves now and also as a tool for resistance later. You will ultimately end up in a group. The group might be the group of people that you were forced to do life with after they put you on a bus at gunpoint and took you to the razor wire camps. Or it might be the group that you're forced to plug into because you ran into the woods when shit got weird and you figured out you couldn't do it on yourself. Or it could be a group that you're building now that has some type of resilience, that is getting the reps and sets now of doing life together and figuring out what works and what doesn't work, to be able to produce your own food and provide your own security and raise your own kids and have some standoff from this bullshit system as it collapses. But there's a lack of organization. Motivation's there, but there's a huge lack of organization and leadership. They don't want you to organize. J6 anybody? They don't want you to organize. That should probably be an indicator. They want you to eat bullshit food that makes you fat and sick. You should probably grow your own then. They don't want you to be armed. You should probably be armed then. They don't want you educated. You should probably teach yourself and your children then. They don't want you to be rich, to have money. You should probably get as much of it as you can, legally, morally, ethically now. Because money doesn't buy happiness. But you know what it does buy? Land, cows, ammo, water filters, wells, heavy equipment, trucks, etc., etc., etc. And I'm not saying to whore with the system. I'm saying to extract as much capital from Babylon as you can before Babylon, oh, alas, Babylon has fallen. As recession continues to draw nearer, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, aka OPEC, announced this week that massive oil production cuts are coming. The Middle Eastern countries intend to reduce production by 1.16 million barrels a day. As if that's not planned. The global head of energy analysis for OPIS, Tom Closa, commented, quote, "I think OPEC is reawakening the inflation monster." You think? Asymmetric warfare. "It certainly alters the calculus for a while," end quote. Global energy markets will obviously be impacted, but the U.S. in particular is expected to see gasoline prices over $4 per gallon again, perhaps even $5 per gallon. Phil Flynn is a senior market analyst with Price Future Group. He said, quote, "The timing couldn't be worse because this is when refiners have to start kicking into high gear to produce summer blends of gasoline. They're going to have a harder time with less supply of oil on the market. It's going to make it more expensive to bring those barrels to a gas station to turn it into gasoline," end quote. Coincidence, I'm sure. I'm sure it's just coincidence. Death by 1,000 cuts to the American people and the American way of life. By the way, also tertiary related to energy, the big push for green continues. 87,000 megawatts of production capacity for fossil fuel has been taken offline in the United States of America during the Biden regime's reign. 87,000 megawatts. That's a lot of power. And the attempt has been to replace that with renewable energy. If you've been here for any length of time, you know my stance on renewable energy. It's not clean. For every wind turbine we stand up, the carbon footprint of that wind turbine is 38 years back to zero, and the life cycle of that turbine is 20 to 25 years. So we're 18 years in the hole for every turbine we stand up. Our capacitor technology, aka batteries, doesn't exist. In certain places, we're up to a 4-hour capability to hold the power that we produce. But if the sun doesn't come out, or it goes to bed every night, like it always has done and will continue to do, or if the wind doesn't blow, you've got, in certain places, not across the entirety of the United States power grid, but in certain places, you've got 4 hours of capacity. 4. Death by 1,000 cuts. Can't run those manufacturing plants if there's no power, or if power is so expensive that you can't afford it. You might not be able to afford your power bill, to say nothing of heating. So it's going to be way more difficult, again, mobility kill, for you to organize or even to get on the internet and get your information from alternative information channels because you can't afford the power. You'll probably start to see rationing of bandwidth at some point. They're trying to do that right now on the provider end, with platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all of that, by censoring the voices individually. But at some point, they're going to narrow the pipe into a funnel, and you might not be allowed to pass through the funnel. Or when ESG comes, you've only got so many credits that you can spend. And if you've got 20 ESG social media credits that you can use this month, and it costs you 1/10 of a credit to watch mainstream media and 2 credits to watch this show, rationing. Rationing, which is always a form of control. AAA Northeast spokesperson, good morning, sweetheart.
Good morning.
What are you doing?
Saying hi.
Oh, hi. How are you today? Good. I'm going to talk to the people, okay?
Okay.
Okay, good talk. AAA Northeast spokesperson Robert Sinclair said, quote, "It's fair to say that this is going to be pretty painful for drivers for the next couple of months. I just feel sorry for the consumers, the folks who can't afford these fluctuating gasoline prices." Well, fluctuating gasoline prices. What about diesel? What about the fact that 94% of everything you touch in your daily life was on a semi-truck at some point? So now you can add increasing production costs because of energy and fuel to increasing inflation, which reduces the buying power of your dollar, which means exponential cost increases across the board. Accident, I'm sure. But this is in the United States of America, the top oil producer in the world. Unfortunately, the Biden administration is doubling down on the transition to clean energy at this time. The same day OPEC announced the huge oil production cuts, the White House issued a joint statement with the EU, emphasizing how critical clean energy would be for increasing energy security, which is complete and utter bullshit. Clean energy and energy security are dipolar. They're oil and water. They do not go together. Doesn't matter how much you put in the mason jar and shake it up, it always separates back out again. In part, the statement read, quote, "The US-EU task force has also discussed solutions for reducing gas and electricity use and costs through flexible demand response mechanisms that reward customers for reducing or shifting their energy usage," quote, end quote. Discussed solutions for reducing gas and electricity use and costs through flexible demand mechanisms that reward customers for reducing or shifting their energy usage. So rather than producing more energy, which can absolutely be done in this country, instead, we're going to figure out ways to ration the energy that we have as we continue to shift towards, air quote, clean energy. What's up, babe?
Can I have it?
You can. Can you munch on that in your room?
Here.
Okay. I just need a few more
Are
minutes,
you
all right?
talking about 9's room or
Yeah, 9's room is fine.
9 doesn't allow me eating anything?
Okay, well, right now Dad does, so. As a reminder, the Biden administration energy agenda includes an economy-wide net zero carbon emissions goal by 2050. It also includes a carbon pollution-free utility sector by 2035, aka entirely unattainable. What's up, Magic Prepper? Good morning. So, rationing of energy. I want to look, there's a couple of things, bonus intel that we're going to read here this morning before we bounce off, but I also wanted to give you something anecdotal. A lot of y'all ask for Caleb House updates all the time on the regular. You should be subscribed to the newsletter at grindstoneministries.com. But here's an update for you. Somebody that I know who has good reason to know. I can't give you the details on that because legitimate operational security. Somebody that I know was talking with somebody who's very high up, very, very high up in the national infrastructure, federal infrastructure, was having a discussion about Caleb House, wave tops, 30,000 foot elevation. And this national security infrastructure person said to the person that I know, do not get involved in that. Run the other direction. Do not get involved. To which that person replied, too late. And so the security person said, you need to tell these people, these Caleb House people, to stop, to run the other direction. This goes all the way to the top. This goes all the way to the top. And then SRA was brought up in this conversation. What is SRA? Satanic ritual abuse of children. So the person that I know brought this information to me and said, hey, I just want to let you know that this top person in the national security infrastructure told me SRA, and it goes all the way to the top. And they said, hey, you should run the other direction, leave it alone. So yeah, cool story. So I asked my whole team, you guys want out? I said, no, absolutely not. I said, good, me either. I had a duty to inform you about what we're dealing with here. So, independent confirmation from somebody that I don't know through somebody that I do know. This goes all the way to the top. And it's deeply embedded with SRA, satanic ritual abuse. So if you thought I was passionate about rescuing kids from this bullshit before, come at me, bro. At the same time that this is happening, I've been amazed, literally amazed, at the number of professional warfighters who have reached out to us and said, we want to help. However we can help, we want to help. And so on the tactical level, we rescue and restore kids. That's the conviction that the Father put on my heart. That's the job we have to do, because I don't get to be disobedient to him. That's the mission, that's the purpose of Caleb House. On a strategic level, it appears we find ourselves in a battle, literally, with a global cabal engaged in satanic ritual abuse. Okay. David cut Goliath's head off with his own sword. Tracking. And tugging on some of the threads that we've tugged on with Caleb House, there were some extremely interesting connections. But now we know, or at least we have reason to believe, it goes all the way to the top. And it's just as evil as we thought it was. This gets back to, how does this help you? This gets back to positions of strength. A large part of why we prepare is not just so that we can hunker down for a year or two as the world goes to shit, so that we can arise the new warlords of the former United States of America after the dust settles. I think that's prepper fantasy bullshit. It's so that the reason we do this is so that we can be as squared away as possible, so we can project strength and light outside of our homes. There's a saying, you can take the measure of a man based on how large of a circle he draws around himself. Maybe. And I'm not saying I'm anything special, because I think we all have the capacity to project that strength and that light out into the world, if you're strong enough in your own home, in your own inner circles. But you guys ask for Caleb House updates all the time. There's a big one. Independent confirmation. Independent confirmation. Goes all the way to the top. Well, so what's the primary mission of Caleb House? Rescue and restore juvenile human trafficking survivors. Secondary mission, statistically, every offender is responsible for 82 victims. 82 victims. And hurt people hurt people. So if we can restore children, every one that's restored is 82 victims statistically that we didn't have to rescue 20 years later. And every bad guy that we can put behind bars or in the dirt is statistically 82 victims that we don't have to restore now. Keenan Finkelstein, you can judge a man by his enemies. Appreciate that. We fight not against flesh and blood, but against nations and principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. Remember that. National Intel. This comes from y'all, intel@bearindependent.com, which frankly have been sparse lately. So if you have intel you'd like to provide, intel@bearindependent.com is the email address. Quote, I just got an email from Whitestone. It's a company that just makes screen protectors and phone cases and stuff. They aren't political or anything, just an accessories seller. I bought a few products from them. I don't have any pending orders, but I got an email out of the blue. The main content is pasted below. Dear our customers, hello, this is Whitestone Dome Glass. We hope everything is going well with you. We inform you that due to the recent international situation, delivery delays may occur in some areas. Listed below are countries where delivery delays may occur. France. Protests against pension reform are underway. Deliveries may be delayed in some affected areas. Germany. Many transport unions are on strike. This is impacting road, rail, air, and sea transports. Delays and disruptions throughout the country with flights canceled in both Frankfurt and Munich airports. As a result, delivery may be delayed. Israel. Demonstrations started this weekend. In addition, Israel Customs announced a strike. Delivery may be delayed due to affected regions and delays with customs clearance. As a result, we inform you in advance that delivery may be delayed in some areas and ask for your understanding. Whitestone Dome Glass always strives to provide you with the best products at the moment you need them. We will try to get you the goods as quickly as possible. France, Germany, and Israel. Protests against pension reform, unions on strike, customs on strike, and demonstrations. Part of that is the inability for the masses to orient on the fact that the world is changing, to throw a fit that things aren't the way they were, or to lament about what things should be, rather than focusing on what is. OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act. I want you all to focus on what is, because if you can root your analysis in fact, what is, rather than what should be or what was, if you can focus on what is, you can make good decision making, develop good courses of action that can mitigate risk and provide you the ability to maneuver, to build your resilience, to get out of the system, rather than what should be, or what was. I still believe the United States of America has the possibility to arise from the ashes, and I hope that it does. And in my 90% context, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I operate businesses and ministries. I have work to do, and I do that work. I have to perpetuate normalcy for the people that I love daily. That's my 90% context. 10% context is preparedness. For if this damn train comes off the tracks, when it comes off the tracks. See, literally or figuratively, trains derail all the time. Then there's a cleanup effort, good or bad. Hello, Ohio. There's a cleanup effort, and then the tracks are restored, and then trains start flowing again. Nature abhors a void. If this system collapses, which it probably will, there will very, very likely be another system that comes after it. That's part of why I want you strong, so that you can have some input as to what that system looks like, so that it's not some authoritarian communist regime or a global cabal that now gets to call the shots because the people have been so stupid and so subjugated that they can't resist or don't even know to resist anymore. But these demonstrations that you're seeing in France and Germany and Israel and elsewhere are foundationally a result of the fact that people are focusing on what was, where what should be, not what is. Those people have a right to protest. Here in America, you have the right to redress your grievances to your governing authorities, and you should. Part of why January 6th was so important is because it sent a message to people like you that if you stand up and make your voice heard, you'll end up in jail. That doesn't sound very American to me, but that's what was and what should be, not what is. Operational security. If you're going to go to one of these protests, don't bring this. Don't bring this. Geofencing and data scraping, they know you walk around with your cell phone in your pocket when you go and do something that's operational. Just give up, turn yourself in. Geofencing and data scraping. Oh, yeah, but what about facial recognition? One word: balaclava, shema, shemag. Pick one. Even then, let's be honest. This part of your face right here, your eyes, don't change. It's the hardest part of your appearance to change. There's 27, 28 different facial recognition points with the eyes, the eyebrows, and the bridge of the nose. Yeah. But at least don't hand it to them by taking your cell phone with you. That's stupid. That's stupidity. And as my brother Saul would say, that's a myopic paradigm that you need to break out of. Carrying around your Babylonian rectangle of death when you go operational. And I would submit, there's an entire channel, Life is a Special Operation, here on YouTube. Yeah. So if you're going to go regress your grievances, which you should, if you're going to bring your cell phone, you might as well print out your own target package on yourself and just hand it to the feds, because that's what they're going to do. National Intel. Quote, I've been a long-time listener of yours, and you have really influenced me to change my ways more towards preparedness. I'd like to thank you and your whole team and what they do. It really makes a difference. I live out in the sticks in Western Pennsylvania, and I just got a call from my wife while I'm at work asking me if we needed to evacuate. She told me that the local fire department that I just put my resume in to join, by the way. I'm getting more involved in my community, like you always suggested. The fire department said that an oil well was on fire, then anyone within a half a mile between two specific roads needed to evacuate. Well, luckily for us at the moment, we are a safe distance away, and I don't need to evacuate at the time that I'm writing this. It's a 4-alarm fire, and all the departments in the surrounding area are there fighting this blaze. Preparedness is no joke, and having a bug-out bag and a bug-out location is an absolute must. I'm working on a lot of my preparedness and strive to be prepared for almost anything, trying to get on that bear level. Thank you again, and keep up the good work. I know you hate YouTube. I do. But please keep up the content, because people like me have stumbled upon your channel and it's changed me. So I know your messages are reaching others also. Praise Yah. Key takeaway there, especially for you people who say I'm never bugging out. That's stupidity. That is stupidity. That is a myopic paradigm. I'm never bugging out. Let me ask you something. If you get into a car wreck and the engine compartment gets lit on fire and you're buckled in your seatbelt, are you just going to sit in the car and burn up, or are you going to get out? Are you going to get your family out of the burning car, or are they also never bugging out with you? Just curious. Mr. I'm never bugging out. Or I'm a solo lone wolf prepper. I don't need anybody's help. Go get into a car wreck. Did anybody else show up to help you? Because if they don't, statistically, you're probably going to die. So you take something basic, like a car wreck, which, by the way, is the most likely way to die in the United States of America. It's the most dangerous thing you do as an American is drive, and the number one cause of preventable death in the United States of America is uncontrolled bleeding. That's why you should have a tourniquet on you. So look at a car wreck. If the engine compartment catches fire, you're just going to stay there, or you're going to bug out. You're going to get out of the vehicle. You're going to pull your kids out of the fire too, your wife, or you're just going to leave them there. Sorry, kids, we're never bugging out. And I don't need anybody. Okay, get into a car wreck. Even if you can extricate yourself from the vehicle, you're just going to leave it there. You're going to call somebody to help you pull it out of a ditch. Is a wrecker going to show up? Did EMS roll? Did the fire department come? Was there a law enforcement officer to direct traffic and take a report? Interesting. You need, and see, and preppers focus on the bug out bag because you can solve that with your paycheck. I'm going to get a Baaaackkkk Laplander folding saw to put in my bag. And I think I need a Helkoverk small camp axe, 20-inch handle that I can hang on the side of my bag. And did you know that Nalgene is BPA free? So I'm going to get a Nalgene bottle. And then I like these water tabs instead of those water tabs. And this is my favorite type of knife right here. So I'm going to have one of these. Shut up. Should you have all those things? Yeah. Yep. But all of that is mission-specific gear. What's the mission? Where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you doing it with? How are you getting there? What's your commo plan? What are your bug out indicators? Who are your left and right units? Who are you coordinating with? How are you receiving intel? Do you have an area study done so you have a snapshot on the intel in the area right now? Do you have primary, alternate, contingency, emergency frequencies? Do you have tertiary routes? Are you aware of the fact that all of your systems will ultimately devolve into a man-portable system, and therefore the 97-pound inch bag that you put together is bullshit? What you gonna eat? How you gonna wipe your ass? Do you have a sleep kit? See, preppers want to buy stuff. They mitigate risk by buying stuff rather than applying the mental energy and the physical energy to develop a plan, work the plan, do FTXs, train. Why do I ruck? It's good exercise. But also, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt exactly how far, under what conditions I can carry my bag. Carry my bag with a rifle and a chest rig and a plate carrier if I had to. Layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. So you should have a bug out bag. But that's like saying, yeah, of course you should have a bottle of water. Like it's the most basic level. Stop making me do stuff. Magic, I love you, bro, but you should ruck more and review 10mm pistols less. Do things. Do things. The entire preposphere is in this bullshit myopic paradigm that you can buy your way out of this problem. And to a certain extent, yeah, you can buy the stuff, but if you don't know how to use it, and if you're buying stuff that you don't need because you're not doing the reps and sets to determine what you do need, and if you don't have a bug out plan, which includes the bug out location, which determines the bug out vehicle, which determines the bug out kit, part of which is your bug out bag, then you're just dead ass wrong. You're still rolling the dice. You're still hoping that it's going to work out. And hope's not a strategy. Hope is not a method. You can't execute on hope. That's the brief for today. An hour long. That's because I haven't seen y'all in a while. If you're one of those people that jumps off when it's time to talk about how to support the show, this is your invitation. Beat feet, skedaddle, get out of here. Have a blessed day. Shalom. If you're one of those people that live in your mom's basement and likes to talk shit on the internet, you should probably go get a hobby. I would recommend starting with push-ups and burpees. Set the Mountain Dew and the Cheetos down and find some purpose in your life and go do shit. And then maybe you'd have a modicum of authority to talk on the internet. Probably not, though. Go get some scars on your hands, bust up some vertebrae in your back, get some gray in your hair, and then maybe have some authority to speak on behalf of the preparedness community. Or shut the hell up, one or the other. Now, how to support the show. Links to all this is in the description down below. I already talked to you about Patreon. Patreon.com, search for Bear Independent, $5 per month. It's literally the best $5 you can spend on the internet. It is a vast resource for you. There are more Patreon videos from Bear Independent on preparedness and faith and homesteading and training and gear and everything else. There are more Patreon videos than there are YouTube videos. Yeah. Not like in the macro, or I'm sorry, not like in the micro, like per week. In the macro, there's over 2,000 Bear Independent videos on YouTube. There's 2,500 on Patreon. And all the good stuff, the real juicy stuff, is on Patreon. Stuff we can't talk about here. No. RefugeMedical.com. Handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever. First aid kits. Originally for me. Saw a problem, created a solution, invented the Baaaackkkk, which has been ripped off poorly by a handful of other companies. My medic bought our search terms. Intimidated, bro? Yeah, that's fun. Another company tried to copy our guarantee, which is easy. You break your kit, I'll replace it at no cost to you. You use your kit to save a life, I'll replace whatever you used at no cost to you. Period. The end. The end. And I want your after action reports. I want your emails. We're up to 71 lives saved. 71 lives saved with Refuge Medical equipment. It's the best. If there's a better kit, I'll buy one from you. They're not out there. And it's not Chinesian price point bullshit like everybody else. We use the best components on the face of the earth. If I can find better components, I'll switch and use them. I can't. And you see a lot of these other companies saying, oh, this is first responder approved, or it's, it's been pressure tested by Naval Special Warfare. Cool. Us too. First responder approved because first responders work for us. Law enforcement officers, EMTs, paramedics, firefighters, they all work for us. Gee, I wonder what they think. I don't have to assemble a test group and ask them. They work for us. They're at the office right now. Oh, well, Special Forces likes these kits. How do you think we developed ours? We have kits right now in the field, right now, with cool guys, people doing things that never happen in places that don't exist with no name tabs on their uniforms right now. Well, but Naval Special Warfare, guess who was in my office going through our combat kits recently? Yeah. So, we're not pretending, just like anything else here. They're literally the best kits you can get. They exceed military specifications. Every stitch, every grommet, every piece of fabric made here in the United States of America with American hands, unconditionally guaranteed forever. Had one guy, a cool guy, in a place that we can't talk about, who, when he hopped off the helicopter, had his kit on his gear. When he hopped back on the helicopter, he didn't. He to this day doesn't know what happened. Sent us an email. It's like, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's my bad or your bad or what, but my kit's gone. Not for long, homie. Where do you want the new one sent? Right? That's how we operate. The store closes at sundown today. The store closes at sundown today. So it's Friday, day of prep, payday, also pray day. If you need to get something from the store, this is your admonishment. I'd do it today before sundown, where the store will be open again after sundown tomorrow. So go check it out, refugemedical.com. Your promo code for free shipping is Bear Nation. Use it if you want. Everything's HSA and HSA eligible. All the kits, all the components. If you have a health savings account or flexible spending account, you can use that at refugemedical.com. Refuge training. There are a handful of public dates currently available. The demand for training is going up. Praise Yah. So we have a lot of private classes that we need to execute on. We have a lot of opportunities that we need to execute on. And these are not just individuals or mags or small businesses or churches, all of which we train, which, by the way, if you want a private class, sales@refugetraining.com. We'll send you a quote. We'll come see you. We'll set it up. We'll figure it out. Also, we do consulting on that as well. So like if you have a church or a business or all of that, and you need to train your staff and you need to get your kits provided and you need to identify the pinch points and you need courses of action and evacuation plans and you need to figure out how do you liaise with the local law enforcement, fire department, and EMS, we do that too. Sales@refugetraining.com. Turnkey package deals. So how can I say this without OPSEC? Refuge training is training individuals privately, groups and teams privately, businesses and churches privately, agencies privately, and national and international militaries privately. That's probably an indicator. So if you have the opportunity to come to a public class, I would encourage you strongly, come to a public class. Okay? refugetraining.com. Grindstone Ministries. You've seen, well, most of you haven't. It's amazing to me. I put up a video about preparedness and I'll get, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 views on that video. I put up a video about us actually doing shit in a tornado destroyed town, 3,000 to 5,000 views. So you want to see what Grindstone does? Just put Grindstone in the search bar at YouTube. There's dozens of videos of Grindstone doing what Grindstone does. We are a disaster relief and construction ministry. We don't charge anybody. A lot of these other 501c3s, they show up to air quote help. And you know what they're doing? They're billing FEMA for their time, as well as taking your donations. We don't do that. We just operate on your donations. So thank you. We don't bill FEMA. We don't charge the property owners. We don't nothing. We just, there's no money that changes hands other than y'all supporting us at grindstoneministries.com. Caleb House. Caleb House is our restoration facility for juvenile human trafficking survivors. We rescue and restore kids who are being serially raped by assholes. Satanic ritual abuse that goes all the way to the top. And we're not going to stop. I praise the Most High. He has surrounded me with an incredibly capable team of individuals that we can do that, the rescue and the restoration. If you'd like to support that, you can find us at grindstoneministries.com. We are in the process of building calebhouse.org. It's not built out yet because we've been a little busy doing the things. We haven't had a whole lot of time to do the back end work, like get a nice slick website up. It's in process. I appreciate every one of you who prays over us, who supports us, who donates, who comes and volunteers your time. Couldn't do this without you. Morning, man. Let's talk to the Father. Good morning, Father Yah. Father, thank you for another opportunity to be on this side of the dirt. Father, thank you for myriad provisions and protections and blessings. Father, thank you for all the blessings you've given me to steward, and thank you for growing me in strength and power and authority to be able to steward them. Father, thank you for the people within the sound of my voice. Father, I know there's a lot of people who are hurting right now, who are struggling right now, who need healing right now. So, Father, I pray that you'd meet them in their need at this very moment, and that you would do it in such a way that is absolutely undeniable and points only to you, to build witness and testimony, because you're good and you inexplicably love us. Even though we don't deserve it and we can't deserve it, you love us anyway. Father, anything that's within the sound of my voice, be it here or wherever my voice is heard right now, anything that's not of you, Father, we come together in agreement and rebuke it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach and command it to flee. Father, pour out your Spirit on all flesh. Send your Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, Father, for wisdom and discernment, that we might know how to move and move righteously, for strength and power and authority in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, that we would not be subjected to the whims of the world, but could walk in his steps. Father, and for peace that surpasses all understanding, even as all this stupid Babylonian bullcrap happens all around us, that we're at peace and centered in you. Father, please continue to bless the work of our hands, the words of our mouth. Let us see what we need to see and hear what we need to hear. And Father, let us do what we need to do, and to do it in such a way that brings a smile to your face. Father, thank you for your appointed times. Thank you for your days of rest. Father, thank you for all these people. I ask these things in Yeshua's name. Amen. I'm out. I missed y'all. Y'all have a blessed day. Shalom.